Where did it come from? It couldn't evolve out of nowhere. It's too precise. Wilder Smith says this: Darwin's so-called gradualism postulated in the last analysis all forms of biology were derived from a single simple cell which by an unbroken series of small gradualistic changes gave rise to an unbroken chain of steps from the original cell up to man himself, and biology was strictly continuous. This is just unbelievable. And only a man in Darwin's time who didn't know genetics would ever come up with such a statement. Because if a one-celled thing, listen to this, developed into a man, then all the encoded information necessary to run that one-celled thing and to run everything from then on all the way up, including the man, had to be in the original cell. And if it wasn't in the original cell, then where did it come from? It's the question. It's ridiculous. They know that all of the encoded information to run every living thing in the universe is not contained in a one-celled amoeba. What is contained in a one-celled amoeba is the code for a one-celled amoeba. Wilder Smith goes on and says, there was one great aspect of reality about which Darwin, and indeed every one of his epoch, knew nothing. I'm referring to the modern science of information theory. For if a primeval kind of amoeba is to develop up to a primate, that primeval cell will have to gather all sorts of new information on how to make kidneys, livers, four-chambered hearts, cerebra, and cerebrella. It's just going to have to, as this one-celled thing goes, it's just going to have to collect information. From where? 1 Corinthians 15 says there's the flesh of animals, and there's the flesh of birds, and there's the flesh of man, and that's how it is. And it's all determined by the genetic code, and they don't crisscross and jump over those bounds. Wilder Smith further writes, assuming that the original primeval form of life was kind of an amoeba, a kind of amoeba, where did it obtain the almost infinite number of bits of information required to be stored in its DNA information storage and retrieval system? In order to transform the amoeba type of cell to a mammal, a primate, an octopus, or a bee, new bits of holistic information are required. Neither the primeval amoeba type of cell nor the inorganic matter of which it is constructed contains such highly specialized holistic information which is necessary to transform the alleged amoeba into, say, an anthropoid ape. Is it legitimate to assume that such incredible amounts of information arose spontaneously out of thin air by pure chance? It's absolutely ridiculous. Evolution is a false religion. Here are the principles it's based on, just to give you another perspective. 1, evolution is pure science. That's what the evolutionists would like you to believe. It's pure science. It's a closed system founded on reality, not on the illusion of a God. And secondly, the evolutionists would say that evolution is equal to rationality because it excludes miracles and the supernatural. But friends, there comes a point in which the supernatural is the only rational thing. Thirdly, and this has been adapted from Philip Johnson's wonderful book, Reason and the Balance. Thirdly, evolution is liberating because it eliminates God and His commands which restrict free sexual behavior. Fourthly, the evolutionist says his religion is democratic because every man is his own source of moral judgment, since there is no God, no moral judge, no law. Fifthly, evolution is broad because it allows a belief in God, just not the biblical God. That's the religion. You want to know what the tenets of the religion of evolution? 1, evolution is pure science, they say. It's a closed system founded on reality, not the illusion of a God. 2, it is equal to rationality because it excludes irrational miracles and supernatural interference. 3, evolution is liberating because it eliminates God and His commands which restrict free sexual behavior. And folks, I want to tell you, that's what drives the whole thing. They love their sin. 4th, evolution, they say, is democratic because every man can be his own source of moral judgment. And 5th, evolution is broad because it allows belief in God, whatever you want Him to be, except the God of the Bible. Amazing, isn't it? People fighting reason, embracing absurdity to avoid accountability to the eternal judge. According to evolution, man is quantitatively better than the animals. That is, he has some features that animals don't have, but qualitatively he's not better. He has a bigger brain quantitatively, but qualitatively he was not created in God's image. Therefore, it is ethically wrong to violate the rights of other animals who are our literal brothers, evolutionarily speaking. And we hear all that today, don't we? All the time. That infamous organization called PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, their national director, Ingrid Newkirk, made this famous statement: a rat is a pig, is a dog, is a boy. No difference. All higher forms of life, a rat being a higher form of life in her view, are to be considered equal. We have a funny organization called the Church of Euthanasia. Believes that animal rights are superior to human rights. A representative from that organization told a TV audience, a national audience, and I quote, "If we're going to kill off species, let's kill humanity first, because humans are only a minor species with a minor role to play in the overall diversity of nature." End quote. And you've read it all. I've read animal rights groups that maintain eating meat is murder. Man is the tyrant species. Killing cows is murder. And there was one who said that killing chickens is equal to the Holocaust perpetrated by the Nazis on the Jews. This kind of idiocy comes because these people really do believe that man is simply the end of an evolutionary series of chance occurrences that has no purpose and has no destiny and is not made in the image of God. He is not bearing any dignity beyond any other along the line in that evolutionary process. And you know what? If evolution is true, you can't argue with them. We're just animals. We have just evolved, and their argument may be pretty valid. All of these animal rights advocates, writes Marvin Lubino, who have expressed themselves publicly on the subject, are evolutionists. According to evolution, it's merely the luck of the draw that man has evolved a big brain. Had certain mutations not happened in our ancestors and instead happened in the ancestors of the chimpanzees, we might be where they are in the zoo, and they might be where we are. Hence, I have no ethical right to use my superiority achieved purely by chance to violate the rights of other animals who, through no fault of their own, didn't evolve the same abilities. If man is only an animal, an accident of nature, a collection of chance mutations, then where is his meaning? Where is his dignity? Where is his absolute value? What is his purpose? Obviously, he has none. It is more even than immoral. This evolutionary idea is deadly. And in our history, our recent history in Western civilization, no one demonstrated the deadly character of this evolutionary idea better than Adolf Hitler. And he was followed up by Joseph Stalin and all of those who massacred and masses of people, millions of people, and committed genocide. At the bottom, at the base of their belief system and philosophy was evolution. For example, Hitler saw in evolutionary theory the scientific justification for his personal view, just the same as social Darwinists of the 19th century did for their terrible abuses. There's no question that evolution was behind all Nazi thought from beginning to the end. And yet few people were aware of that, and Hitler even sucked up a quasi-Christian commitment from the church of the state of his day. Erich Fromm wrote, "The religion of social Darwinism belongs to the most dangerous elements within the thoughts of the last century. It aids the propagation of ruthless national and racial egoism by establishing it as a moral norm. If Hitler believed in anything at all, then it was in the laws of evolution which justified and sanctified his actions and especially his cruelties." And how does that work? Evolution is the survival of what? The fittest. Hitler was just playing out the evolutionary role. He was the fittest, and so he massacred everybody else under the evolutionary thesis that he was perpetuating the strongest, and he was aiding in the development of the super race. That was all born out of evolutionary theory.